Creating popular trends on a curvy body. Cross neck cutout boot top or whatever this is. So I've been seeing this top literally everywhere, and my right mind knows that this will not work for somebody my bust size, but social media has influenced me, so I'm gonna try it on. Here it is on, and girl, it's enough. Creating popular trends on a curvy body. Cross neck cutout boot top or whatever this is. So I've been seeing this top literally everywhere, and my right mind knows that this will not work for somebody my bust size.
Here's belly button. Right here. That's small. Damn, that's here's belly button. Right here. That's small. Damn, that's
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. And how are you? Oh, I'm the only one here. Oh, okay. How are you?
Yes. You're the only one here, and I've got everything paused, so nothing's recording.
Okay.
I don't know if you know this or not, but my daughter came back from Texas and was complaining of burning and sensation in her nose. And then I took her to the pediatrician. She tested positive for COVID.
Oh, wow.
I've been home all this week with her.
Oh, wow. That is so sad.
Yeah, I'm not too happy about, the whole trip thing, but, and then this happened. So that doesn't help matters.
So they have to monitor just in case,
Yes. So basically she's had like a burning sensation in her nose and her sinus cavity.
Mm-hmm.
And then she has congestion because she's constantly clearing her throat. But the pediatrician said her lungs look good. We went on
Okay.
Friday, and she's had no fever.
Thank God. Mm-hmm.
I know that's like this. She's had a very mild case of it. And talking to Annie about, because when her daughter had it, Annie and her husband were telling me that watch on day 5 because that's usually when the symptoms kick in. Well, day 5 was Monday for her since the onset of symptoms. So I was like, well, no, it was Tuesday, so it was yesterday. Nothing. Actually, she had more energy yesterday than she did the first couple of days.
Well, that's good news because not everyone reacts the same way, right?
Right. And so I was tested on Monday, so I was negative. And then when she first came back, because she came back Tuesday afternoon, and then Friday I went to work. So she stayed with my parents. So my parents were vaccinated, but they were tested today and their test came back negative as well. So that's good.
So she got it in when she was in Texas.
Yes.
But does the doctor tells you if she has a variant or what is that
He
which one
didn't indicate which variant that she had. He was like, right now we can't tell because they did a rapid test. And he was like, just quarantine for 10 days. The health department will be in touch with you. I have yet to hear from the health department. But so I went ahead because she is enrolled in a Fayette County school. So I went ahead and completed that online information. And someone from Fayette County contacted me on Monday. And they were like, okay, well, we've got all our information and the health department should be in touch with you in the next 2 days. I'm like, it's been 2 days.
Wow. Well, at least it was now in vacation, right?
Right.
During school day for her also.
Yeah.
I think she will not mind being not being in school.
Right. Exactly. So just dealing with that. And there's just a lot going on. I need to get to work to do. And
Well, that's the most important thing right now. That's
yeah,
priority number 1, her and your parents.
that's true. But
Everything
I'm just glad,
else.
yeah. But now that I'm like, okay, everybody seems to be doing fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now you can focus.
Wire. The school
Now you
starts
can
in 3
focus.
weeks.
I know. And then I'm tired already.
Yes, because you worked summer Ignite the whole time.
Yeah, and the only week we have, then you took out one day from math PDs. I'm like, please. The Friday.
Well, yeah. So just trying
It's
to get
okay.
this year started.
I can take vacations any other time anyway, so it's not that I'm absent always,
Yeah, that's true. So hopefully we get everybody on here. We can have a quorum and get all these things checked off. So
It's a lot. I never look at the agenda, but I had the time and it's a lot.
Yeah.
I said, okay, this will be like 2 hours.
I'm not reading stuff to you all. I'm just gonna be like, okay, this is the overview. What I'm trying to do this year, created a Google Drive for all things SBDM. to invite everybody on the committee to be able to have access to it.
Mm-hmm.
And the only problem I'm having is one of the parents has a Hotmail account and not recognizing Hotmail. So I'm going to have to ask him if he
Mm-hmm.
would be willing to get a Gmail account, because then that way everybody would have access.
Yeah. And that would be easy fix.
Yeah. So I'm trying to keep everything embedded and, into the agenda so that everybody always has access to any of the handouts.
Yeah. So I said this will be an hour and a half, 2 hours.
No, don't
Usually,
say that.
well, I know I will not ask questions. So I'm like, okay, that takes 10 minutes out of the. Oh,
Hi, Kathleen. How are you?
hello.
I'm good. How are
Hello.
you?
Hi, Mrs. Moorman. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good. All right. I'm treasuring my last moments of summer break.
Oh, well, unfortunately, I'm having an extra week of pseudo summer break because I'm under quarantine.
Oh no.
Awesome.
My daughter went to visit her dad in Texas, and she came back and was complaining of issues with her sinuses. And I was like, you know what? You were in another state. I'm going to take you in. So I took her to PAA. They did a rapid test and it came back positive. So she is pseudo asymptomatic because she's never had a fever. It's almost like allergy symptoms.
Yeah.
Like if she had not gone out of state, I probably wouldn't have even thought to have her tested. But yeah, so I've been home this week trying to work. It's really interesting. I'm easily distracted.
Yeah, and when you have the kids at home, you really don't work because they take almost all your time.
Yeah, and she sends messages to me on through the cell phone. So if I'm in another part of the house, she'll text me and say, "Hey, mom, I need some Gatorade," or "Hey, mom."
Mhm.
I'm like, okay. So I'm
I'm
a short order
hungry.
cook.
I'm hungry.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hopefully we'll have Easily on. Maybe I should text them.
Miss Albright will be she was in a trip, right? Miss Albright?
Yes, she's at Universal Studios, and she said that she could get on from there. I was like,
Oh, that's
Why?
terrible.
Why?
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 That's terrible. She'll be sitting on a ride or something when she calls, or she dials in.
Oh, making those long lines that you should know you never go to Disney or
That's true.
Universal in summer. Summer is
That's
not the
true.
time.
She could time it just right to get in line at one of the long rides and then be perfect timing.
that's true.
You know, she's probably at Harry Potter World.
Oh,
We
is
lost
that
her.
where Harry
That's
Potter
at
is?
Universal Studios. Yeah.
Oh, yes, she's definitely there.
Yeah.
And I think Mr. Williams, he is in his second day of SBDM training. So, okay, Beasley just responded. He's getting on now.
Was there an agenda it circulated?
Yes. Yes, I emailed that out this morning. Did you not receive it?
Let me check my Gmail again. I didn't see it, but I'll search by your name and maybe I missed it.
I think I replied all to Kathleen's email.
Yeah, the last one I see is her email.
Okay, let me send it to you. I'm sorry about that.
That's all right. Do you have my email?
I believe I have it.
Yeah, it's just allison.mormon@gmail.com.
It looks like the agenda was sent to possibly last time's people, like last year's people.
Oh, did I click the wrong one?
Maybe because Travis is on there and Miss Cooper's on there.
Oops. Okay. All right. I'm going to have to correct that.
That can get fixed again also.
So Beasley might not have it either. We may have to forward it to him. If you can't do it, I can get it right here and do it.
I'm doing it right now.
So the COVID numbers are going up again also, the variant?
Yes. Yes.
Has Fayette County given any direction on?
Not yet.
protocols?
The committee met on the 20th and they do not have a definitive plan or different guidance to give us. We at Bryan Station already decided to have cohorts again, like we did when we went. And we're going to have assigned seating in the cafeteria. We're still going to maintain our sick room on the stage. Our family community liaison, Mr. Davis, will still serve as that healthy at school liaison. So he would be the point of contact. So we're going to follow that same plan we did when we came back in person. And they had already said, the district had already stated that elementary and middle school would have to wear masks.
Because they're not vaccinated yet.
Right. And even with some being vaccinated and some not, it's just at the middle school level, a large majority of our students are under 12. So that's why we're in that inclusion with elementary. That's why I even started walking around to each room during Summer Ignite, reminding them that they are to have a mask on, because I knew that variant was rising. And at one point, I think during the first session, there was information pushed out to families and the district saying that adults, if you've been vaccinated, the only time that you need to have your mask on is when you're around kids. And then if parents choose not to enforce their child to wear a mask because they've been vaccinated or whatever, then it became more lax. But now the word is from the district, you must wear a mask when you're around kids, and the kids must wear a mask.
They're already used to it.
Right. And I would prefer to go back and wearing masks, and then to go and have some mask and some not. And then if we have to get to the point where we have to enforce it, it becomes a problem. So I'd say the mask.
And they're saying that this one is more contagious.
Yes, it
the
is.
variant. So they're gonna also maintain the 6 feet or the 3 feet, or we will not need that just in case for eating only, you know, the
3 feet is what was in the last notification that was sent to us. And it has already been stated that it is difficult to do that, the 6 feet and 3 feet in a middle school or secondary education. So we will continue to do what we can. In the cafeteria, we will have a certain number of classes eating in the cafeteria, but it will be only the cohorts.
Are they gonna be using also the gym or no?
No.
Not this time. Okay,
No,
good.
because we have to spread those kids out when they're in PE because they were too close to each other in PE. And when we started the beginning of the year, yes, we could utilize outdoors, but when we get to that second semester, when we get closer to winter, it's
Yeah.
wet and then cold.
Mhm.
Okay. Mr. Beasley's here. Good evening.
Good evening. Sorry about my
Hello.
tardiness.
No worries. Mr. Beasley, I emailed you the agenda because evidently I forwarded on to last year's SBDM council by mistake. So I'm going to go ahead and get everything going recording wise. All right. So the time is now 5:08 p.m. and I'm going to call this meeting to order. The first thing on our agenda is to review the agenda. Hold on. I'm trying to share my screen, but it's disappeared. There we go. Can everyone see that now?
Yes.
It's too
I need to
small.
enlarge it.
Yep, I can see it.
Okay, so on our agenda for today is to approve the agenda, approval of the June 21st SBDM minutes, old business, second reading of the grading policy, review of the ESSER funds proposal, new business, social studies curriculum adoption, and all of those documents that are related to that. The emergency management and recovery plan, the 21-22 PD plan. Other business is just housekeeping things for the new council and documentations, and then public comment and adjournment. Could I get someone to make a motion to accept the agenda as written?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Mrs. Mormon. Could I get someone to second that, please?
I second the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Beasley. Okay, on to the approval of our June 21st minutes. I always want to say meeting minutes. We met via Zoom on, is it June 9th? Or the 21st? Why is it? I don't know. Anyway. And it has a listing of all the people who were present, and the guests were our new council members. The meeting was called to order at 5:01. Approval of the minutes from May. We talked about the grading policy, had the first reading, went over the student achievement goals and recap for the school year. New business, we talked about the ESSER funds and what it consisted of, and an overview of what we would like to put on the proposal, and then the year-to-date budget. And then we went into closed session to discuss personnel issues or staffing issues. And then other business, we went over the council training, transition, background checks for parent members, and the school risk assessment share that we passed from Katie, or from the district or from the state level. They came and did an audit and we passed. There were no public comments and the meeting was adjourned at 6:27. And if we're all in agreement of the minutes as written, could I have someone to approve, make a motion to approve the minutes as written?
Motion to approve the minutes as written.
Thank you, Ms. Santiago. We have someone to second that?
I'll second.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Foreman. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Okay, the opposed have it. Thank you very much. Okay, next on our agenda is the second
opposed?
reading.
You said
No
the
one
opposed have
opposed.
it. Okay. I was
I
like,
said-
wait, no, the opposed don't have it.
I said no one opposed.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay. This is the second reading of the BSMS grading policy. There were no immediate changes. Just to refresh everyone's memory, I have highlighted the areas that are to be amended. So formative assessment would be 30%, summative would be 70%. We would maintain having the formative assessment category with a minimum of 8 graded assignments per grading period, 2 summative per grading period. And then, oh, wait a minute.
It was not 40, 60.
Hold on, my computer is trying to shut down.
Oh,
No, I don't want to do that. I'm afraid that I would hit the wrong thing. Sorry.
Mhm.
Let's see. What was your question?
I thought that formative assessment, it was 40 and summative assessment was 60. Or probably
Based on our last meeting on June, it says replace formative 60, summative 40 with formative 30 and summative 70. And we talked about that because I know we went back and forth and was like, we feel like some people were saying they felt like it would put too much weight on summative, and there was a certain demographic of students that would not be successful.
Mhm.
And then I brought out, I said, well, do we want to have formative 40 and summative 60? Because then that would just be flipping the percentages. And I believe someone said, well, it really doesn't matter if it's 40, 60 or 60, 40 or 60, 30, 70, because it's still, the focus should be on whether or not we as educators are making sure the formative assessments or assignments are tied to standards, and that we are practicing and then providing opportunities for students to reassess.
I think that the 60-40 split is just, if we're gonna do it, and that's what the split was before, I think it makes sense to just flip it so that, it sounds like we want to make the summative be the guiding grading principle. So I would be in favor of switching it to at least 40-60, but I wasn't involved in the initial discussions. I think that just, you've only got a minimum of 2 summative. I feel like it just balances it out a little bit more for the students.
Okay. Anyone else? Everybody in agreement with that we're just flipping the original percentages?
I think so. And then next year we can evaluate if we can move on, then keep pushing more up.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
In there, so it's on there for us to make those changes.
Ms. Kirby, just curious on this grading. Do we know what I know what my son's school does, but do we know what just across the board, what other schools are doing with their formative summative?
I do know for a fact that this was our chief's idea. He wanted us to focus in on our grading policies. And that is why we did a book study with the 15 fixes for grading. I shared like a chapter of that book. And as a school, we'll be working with that book. But in it, he was noticing, like, I guess, going to all of the schools. There are some schools that have a split, some that don't, but they leave it up to the individual departments. And I can just speak from when I was a classroom teacher, the formative never had a larger percentage of weight than the summative. So that it was flipped anyway from the very beginning. And even in that book, I can't remember the author's name now, and Annie Trimble has it right now. But it stated that your formative needs to, if you're going to do weighted, then your formative has to be less than summative, because formative is practice. And so that's why we also included in the verbiage of making sure that students had an opportunity to demonstrate mastery on formative and summative, but they had to do a relearning plan. And so we're also embedding that through ESSER funds, with providing opportunities for Saturday school, or working with the teachers to do after school for students to get that extra support.
Does the scale for grading will change also, or it will
Yes.
be maintained?
The grading, so you're talking about like
100 to 90, yeah.
Yes, we're going to a 10-point scale. Tracy Bruno, the chief for middle schools, presented that to the board, and it was approved. So starting effective the beginning of this school year, then we will all use a 10-point grading scale. And this will help because in our particular situation, we have about 55, 60 kids that start their day at the high school. And those students are using a 10-point grading scale and standards-based grading at the high school. And then when they come back to the elementary, or not elementary, the middle school, they're on a different grading scale and not really tied to standards. So we were trying to align, when I say we, middle schools were trying to align with the high school. So yes, we will be doing the 10-point grading scale.
That benefits the kids also.
Yes, because before, you get a 64 to a 0, that's an F. Then that 100 to 92 was an A, or 93 is an A, and then 92 to an 83 or 84 is a B. So I think the 10-point scale will be more forgiving, and it will be helpful when it comes to change with our grading policy.
So the what Ms. Santiago and Ms. Mormon both said was that they were for 60% formative and 40% summative instead of the 70-30.
Correct.
Okay.
Is what I heard.
Yeah, 40% formative and 60% summative.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And I will fix all of this and clean it up. This is just our working copy so that we can maintain all the notes of things that have been added or taken away. But that was the major change with our grading policy. And then, of course, mentioned, things to put in place as safety nets to help support our students, because the bottom line is we want the students to learn the standards that are being taught. So, the teachers will provide students with multiple opportunities to demonstrate mastery of formative and summative assessments and record the highest grade in the grade book. And the mindset behind that is it's coming from that 15 Fixes for Grades book, is like, what are we as educators grading? Are we grading behavior, compliance, organization, or are we grading the mastery of the standards being taught? And my vision is that we as a school in every subject area should be grading students based upon their mastery of the standards, not based on the fact that they got a a grade sheet signed by a parent and brought back, or a syllabus signed by a parent and brought back. So those were some of the things that I've seen in grade books over the past few years. And, we have talked about this, but I think now we need to put it into policy to make sure that we have a leg to stand on when we're talking with teachers and saying that's not following policy.
So our previous policy was 60 formative, 40 summative. Last time we talked about switching it and making it 70 formative, 30 summative, but now we're flip-flopping it, but we're going back to the 40-60, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Just wanted to make sure I had that in the notes.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Anything else that we want to discuss with this policy? I mean, we have the definition of formative assessment and summative assessment. And so to make it clear for our staff, we decided that we needed to take out notebooks, reading goals, exit slips, bell work, homework, and then add in work and practice completed in class and quizzes. To make sure that we're explicit when we go over this with our back to school professional learning with our staff.
If the teacher prepares a plan for the student because it did not master the standard, that will be after school or Saturday. Does that student, the parent will have to provide transportation for students that do not master and have to stay after school or have to come on Saturday?
So this is the thought process. If I'm a teacher and I say, okay, you've got to go and you have to do this practice before I allow you to take this test, the summative test over again. If they don't do that independently and can show that they have shown mastery on that, then it's not necessary for them to stay after school. But there are some cases where students need that one-on-one tutoring, that they cannot go and do the activities on their own.
And majority of the cases are the same students that are taking, majority, not all of them, right? Are the students that are taking intervention class that probably you can have a communication with the
intervention teacher,
and,
yes. And that could happen as well.
Probably, and that will be a better fit for those students that will be very difficult for them to stay after school or Saturday school.
But we're trying to give like a whole conglomerate of opportunities. You need more time on practice, or time on task with a teacher in front of you. We have after school, we even have Saturday school. So those are the things that we're providing. And then if they're in intervention classes, yes, I want our departments, each individual content area departments to have those discussions with the intervention teachers to help support those standards that need to be taught.
Ms. Kirby, does our grading policy need to mention anything about, in the grade book where you put a missing in and it automatically calculates as a 0? Does our policy have to cover that or no?
Does our grading policy have to include what? I'm sorry.
So when you put a missing in the grade book, it automatically calculates as a 0. Does our grading policy have to cover that? Does that need to say anything about that? No,
that's just something that we use as a placeholder and communicate it with the families.
Okay. And then, so that's what the
you'll see in here. So the end of the quarter.
Okay.
So posting of the quarter grades, students or teachers will post an I for incomplete instead of zeros, not post any final percentage lower than 50%.
Okay.
So in the past, because we were virtual, we had students, or, even when we came back in person, we had students that did nothing. And then teachers were automatically putting in a 50. Well, no, we're not going to do that. It's not before you get out of jail, you do 50%. It's no, you get an I because it's incomplete. You've done nothing. And so we'll continue to have those conversations with teams, and then having those conversations with parents and having the grade level administrator there to have those conversations and say, your child has not completed any formative assessments. So therefore, we don't know if they have mastered the standards. So we are inviting your child to stay after school or go to Saturday school to get that support from a certified teacher in that area to get those assignments done.
Mhm.
Because part of the concern was I kept hearing from the committee that, okay, well, this past year and a half, you know, you said show grace. Well, now kids weren't doing anything. And I said, well, on some instances, you had kids that weren't doing the formative assessment, but when it came time for the summative, they did well. Or we had kids who didn't do anything for as a quarter, and they were doing Odyssey wear, and they were taking the assessment and getting an 85 or better on Odyssey wear. So it's like, okay, you understand the concepts and the standards. So where's the disconnect? So that's why I said we're not going to just pass kids on. We've got to see if they have mastered standards.
Mhm.
So any other questions? And then, like I said, I just highlighted here that we would follow the Fayette County Public Schools grading policy, which is that 10-point grading scale. Okay, so at this time, are we in agreement with adopting this policy with the change of formative is 40% and summative is 60%? Are we ready to take a vote on this? Or do we have more questions? Okay, so all those in favor of the policy with that particular amendment of formative assessment 40, summative assessment 60, say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. Okay, the ayes have it. So the grading policy has passed 5-2 or 4-0, so unanimously. Okay, thank you very much. Now on to new business. So I'm not going to go through this entire PowerPoint because I was actually a part of this adoption process. But so as a district, just like with collections for language arts, Amplify for science, and Pearson or Savis for math, about 2 years ago, the state adopted new standards for social studies. And we have been in the process of looking for, I'm going to say loosely, curriculum, because really it's not curriculum, it's a resource, to support the curriculum that our social studies department will utilize and create in teaching the standards. And so a part of this committee, basically we have guaranteed assurances that we had to look at to make sure that whatever package that was presented to us from a vendor, it aligned with the Kentucky academic standards. It would assist the teachers in employing high quality instruction, support inquiry-based learning, support historical accuracy, diversity, equity, and inclusion, online assessment platform, integrated data platform, and comprehensive professional development. So this just gives you an idea of the process. It started in March and went through May. So there were 9 proposals presented to us, and the steering committee, which I was a part of, we then looked at each one of those programs and we did a rating system. The The one that came out on top was My World, or K through 12, My World Interactive, published by Savvis, which is formerly known as Pearson, which is the same company that produces our state assessment and our math textbooks. This past year, Bryan Station was afforded the opportunity to pilot this. So therefore, we have already had an opportunity to be exposed to this program. So it just talks about how it aligned from K through 12 to our standards and the inquiry base, the 3 C's, where it's college, career, and civic life framework, the culturally responsive classroom, and all of the indicators that came from that, and the online platform, the platform compatibility with Canvas, which is something that we utilize in the secondary level and for elementary. The 3-year of comprehensive customizable professional development plan. And this particular company this past year has taken the feedback from our teachers and have implemented that into making amendments to their product. So there is an online platform. There's also a textbook, and everything can be found online. So since we are a one-to-one district, that would be helpful. And so it just talks about the collaborative effort with all of the people involved. So this went to the board. The board approved it. So now it is our job at each SBDM at the school level to decide if we want to adopt this. And just like with every other program or other content areas, basically what happens is when you utilize a district adopted program, you are provided ample supports, and any type of amendments or concerns that you have with it, it is voiced to the vendor, and the district will definitely come in for it. One thing also I want to add is that this is for the first time in about maybe 3 years, the district has hired a social studies district level support staff member who will be supporting the rollout of Savvis and helping teachers to get acclimated to it. But Bryan Station has a leg up on this because we utilized it last year. So any questions about Savvis, social studies, My World?
Is it for the Spanish immersion program, do they have the materials in Spanish? I know in some of the math products, they do get the math books in Spanish. Is it the same with the
Same
social
way,
studies?
yes.
Okay.
So the textbook is in Spanish, the interactive notebook is in Spanish, and then some of the supplementals are in Spanish as well. The only thing, because my role was to look at that, like the cultural responsiveness, and then how does it help with our EL students? And of course, I was selfish. I wanted to look and see how would it support our Spanish immersion program. The only difference is that the videos, like when they go to, like there's one particular for US history where they go to a location and it's like a virtual field trip, it's all in English. And so when I spoke with the vendor representative, Mr. Mims, and he said, well, you could do the sub in Spanish immersion, we have to stay in the targeted language 100%. So in talking to Mr. Castillo, he said, well, in the Spanish immersion department, we already pull materials from other places. And so that's what I was speaking with my social studies department about, was that we have to get away from the mindset that this is a curriculum, because there's not going to be a curriculum for any content area. Like Beasley can attest to it. Collections is a tool. It's a resource. I've gone into Beasley's class. He pulls in tools or resources from other places because he is developing the curriculum to teach the standards. And so in looking at all 9, I personally felt like Savvis did a really good job. And then like the feedback, they were very receptive, and I saw changes happening throughout the year, even with that feedback. So when it comes to Spanish immersion with social studies, I say this is a better tool than most of the other programs that were reviewed.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? So you'll notice under the social studies curriculum adoption, there is the program overview, the instructional alignment rubric. So it shows you the rubric and how it was broken down. And then the study adoption form is something that we would have to fill out and submit to the district that says, yes, as a school, we are adopting this resource. So any other questions?
Yeah, I have one more. Sorry, one more question.
No, it's
So
fine.
did our social studies at Bryan Station Middle, did they like the program, and did they have feedback since they were able to?
They did give
utilize it last year?
feedback because I actually asked them this summer, because I could not go to the board meeting because I was on vacation. And I asked them for feedback so that I could write a statement and submit it. And honestly, it was half and half. There's positives, and then there were some negatives. So the positives were that the online aspect of it was really good, and how they could actually extract portions of the text and work with the text and do like the highlighting of the text and doing those literacy strategies. They like that. For the ancient civilization, they really liked the information and the supplemental information that was provided. Now, where the not so positive feedback came from was with US history. And it was from the vantage point of it did not always give an accurate, and I would say it's more of like the present day accuracy of the information. So in other words, it didn't give enough. They didn't feel like it gave enough. So when it talked about slavery, or it talked about European exploration, it didn't give the vantage point from African Americans at that time. So then you just go and you pull that from another source. And then I spoke with Mr. Dix, our social studies teacher in 7th grade, and he said that he actually used some of that as a teachable moment, and he would pull information out and he would say, okay, now is this history, or, I forgot the term he used. You remember, Beasley? Like, he would actually have the kids read the text and say, okay, is this really history, or has this been altered? Make us all believe that this is truly what happened. And so that stimulated a lot of discussion in Mr. Dick's class. And I even
reliable source, something like that.
No, it's not reliable source. There's a movement now. I forgot what it was called. But there are some states who are voting against it being taught. So basically taking portions of history because it makes a group of students feel bad about their ancestors, not teaching that. I can't remember what it's called now. Oh. But anyway, like I know Texas and I think Alabama was another state that voted to not. No, it was North or South Carolina and Texas voted not to incorporate this theory.
Critical race theory? Is it
the what?
The critical race theory?
Yes, that's
CRT?
it. CRT. I was like, it's C something, but I can't remember what it is. Yes. And so that was the feedback that I was getting from
that this curriculum doesn't incorporate CRT.
Right. Huh. Right. And I was like, well, it wouldn't, because CRT is like a theory, and then it's a separate that's in a separate bucket over here. You pull that in and then you take the text. And so I actually saw it happening in Mr. Dick's class because he would take a portion of history and say, okay, but how do you think this group of people, like, the Egyptians and the Hebrews, like, I'm just pulling stuff out, but it was just like something like that. Like, okay, it's telling you the historical information about the Egyptians, but how do you think the Hebrews felt? And so the kids generated those conversations.
Hmm.
And so I felt like that's what you're supposed to do. You're not going to get one textbook. It's not like when I was in school in the 90s and 80s that you have one textbook and we started at chapter 1 and we went all the way to the end. Now it's like, okay, we're learning new things, so we all places.
Mm-hmm.
And all of the others were pretty much the same way. Like, it's not incorporating that because I think CRT is newer and it's coming to the forefront more because of what has happened socially in our country over the past 2 years. So, but that was the feedback in a long, drawn out narrative
Thank you.
of what
That's all I have.
our social studies teachers had to say about it. And I did speak with Mr. Miranda, who's our 6th grade social studies teacher, Mr. Dix, and Ms. Durbin, our 8th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And I will tell you, just from Mr. Dixon, I talked to him. That's what I'm pretty familiar with the curriculum because of that. Mr. Dix liked the interactivity of this program. He also liked the way that the kids were able to, the way that it's set up. The kids are able to log into the program. He can assign them a task. They complete the task. He gets an immediate product that he can then grade. They can look at together as a classroom and then discuss things. So the program, the way that it is designed, it allows immediate feedback, number one. It allows him to then incorporate other texts into his classroom in conjunction with what the program is showing. And then he also, I know one of the other things that he liked about the program is it has, so it'll do multiple choice, it'll do some matching stuff, it'll do, then they get essay questions. So he then confers with me, because we both on the 7th grade team, and he will say, hey, Beasley, how are you guys, what are you guys writing? What are you working on, doing narratives, arguments, whatever. And then he will then use that in his class to turn the question into, hey, you're gonna write this type of writing based on the way that the program is designed. So the built-in short answers are already there. He can just adjust what he's asking from the students, what product he's asking for. So it does provide you that level of flexibility within the program for him. So that was one of the positives, or 3 of the positives rather, that he did say about the program in relation to its flexibility. Now, there were some things he didn't like about it, but those are the main things he did like about it.
That's awesome.
One of the things I liked about the fact was this is the same company. I know we don't teach to the test, but it's providing students an opportunity to be exposed to the assessment style.
Mm-hmm.
If the same producer of the standardized test for the state. And so getting those kids used to that style in an organic manner through, teaching the units. And I thought the primary sources were really good that I saw in the samples that they shared with us and what I saw being used when I would do walkthroughs. Any other comments? So do we think we're ready to make a decision as a council to adopt this at Bryan Station Middle School. Okay, all those in favor? Say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Okay, the ayes have it. It's unanimous. We have Savis. Yay.
Another Sabbath.
Another Savis product. Now, it's very interesting because we are virtual in this meeting, and there is a adoption document, and I will just share it with you. So I think the best way to do this is, initially I was thinking, okay, we sign it, and then you just send it in, and I just send in multiple copies of it because we're virtual. What are your thoughts on that, guys?
It's fine with me.
Or are you
I'll be-
willing
I'll be in the
to-
building this week.
I say, are you willing to stop by the school if I leave it in a folder in the front office and just sign it?
I can do that. I have to stop by and get a yearbook anyway, so
Okay.
I'm in the
I need-
school anyway, also, and Mr. Beasley
Yeah.
too.
Okay, great. So what I will do, okay, so what I'll do is I will leave this in the front office. It will not be there until Monday. Sorry,
Okay.
I'm quarantined.
Okay.
Go back on Monday. So it'll be there Monday, or what I can do is get Annie Trimble to print it off.
Mhm.
Wanting to go over to this week to sign it? Miss Mormon, were you planning to go this week?
I mean, I can put it off till Monday. It's not,
No, I
it doesn't
can,
matter. I didn't have a set plan. I needed to contact whoever was distributing those anyway, so.
okay. What I will do is I will have Miss Trimble, my associate, print it out, put it in the folder and put it in the front office tomorrow, okay? So
Okay,
if you happen to come by tomorrow or Friday, then you can just sign off on it then.
perfect. Yeah,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you so much. Okay, all right. Next on our agenda is the Emergency Management Recovery Plan. Fun stuff. Okay, so this is the plan that talks about what do we do in the event of an emergency. So on this particular page is the E-team, the emergency team assignments. It tells us who the incident commander is, which is me. An alternate is the associate principal. We have the security officers listed, public information officials, liaison officials, outside the agency, planning agents, planning and intelligence, operations. This is who you would go to, Carol Duncan or Kathleen Moore for student accounting and release and reunion. So in the event that we have to exit the building, those are the two people that parents would talk with in order to check their child out. Facility, environmental shelter, of course, will be Ken Herron, our lead custodian, all the other custodians. And then this is our first aid group and crisis intervention and response. So if there's ever a crisis, this would be our part of our crisis intervention response team. And then food, water, sanitation would be covered by Paul Richardson, Ken Herron. Communication would be me and Lisa Deffendahl, the PR person for the district. And supplies distribution would be Melissa Brewer and Shelley Albright. And documentation for administration and finance would be Sherry Rose. Then we have the next list. And Kathleen, I did learn this in my SBDM training. We are not supposed to put a copy of this in our binder because of the FERPA with the students' names, but I'm just sharing this and going over this with you guys right now. So we have a master list of students who have special needs and assistance. So when we exit the building, then we don't have anything for the hazard mitigation plans, any potential hazards in the building. And then this plan just tells us in the event that we have to exit the building, where do we go? Our first would be the Bryan Station High School football field. And this indicates where each team would line up. And then parents would be reunified with their students at the grass area leading to the gates. The media area would be the football parking lot. Potential more, that was kind of disturbing for me, but we have to have it, would be the tree area outside of the end zone. Then it goes into other locations. So if for some reason we have to exit our building, another location would be, we couldn't be outside, would be Bryan Station High School. And then our secondary location would be Northern Elementary. And there wasn't any required transport for that page. And then this talks about the student accounting and release, that all pairs who are not one-to-one would be runners, and they would provide information to Ms. Duncan and escort students to their parents. And of course, parents would have to provide ID before students were allowed to leave, just like when we check kids out during the school day. You would work with Ms. Duncan and Ms. Moore, and they would sign their kids out. And this particular page is something that we always print off and we give it to our staff, and it's in our staff handbook. But this is a quick reference guide that goes over what to do in the event of. So if we need to evacuate, there is a map in every classroom with red line to show everyone how to exit from that particular location to get out of the building. Then there's a green line or a green dot of where they're to go. And we do practice this with the students throughout the year if there's severe weather, and it tells them where to go. And then there's a blue dot for a shelter. And then the assembly area, it just reiterates where they're supposed to go if we have to exit the building and go to the football field. And then the student accounting, the teams and who are the team leaders. And then at the bottom, it says what they're to do. So the teacher takes the role. They send runners to report any missing students to the team lead. The team leader will report to Ms. Duncan, who is in charge of the student accounting and release. And then Ms. Duncan will report to the principal. And the second page of that, it talks about the teacher's responsibility in the event of an emergency, the universal emergency procedures, evacuation procedures, and all of this was pre-printed by the district. So we did not make any changes to that. Next is a communication tree in the event if there's an emergency. And that is the end of that.
I have a question on the lockdowns.
I've got an answer because Annie already.
Yes. Okay.
Go ahead.
So the question was, it says that we have to cover the door, but then later on says the windows has to be uncovered. So that was the question that I made her today.
Okay, so, and the response from law enforcement said, as of right now, leave the windows to the outside uncovered and make sure students can't be seen from the window. And make sure your black shade is down on the door window. And more information will come about if kids stay in the seat for now because of the pandemic.
Because last year was cover everything closed. So the windows will be, if the blinds are up, they have to be up, right?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what, until we receive other guidance, but that's what they have shared with us right now.
No, I understand, but that's what creates confusion when they change one year than the other year.
Yes, I understand. Because before they said, don't cover your windows with anything. Then they said, cover the windows. Then
exactly.
Black coverings. And they said, well, you can't have it covered all the time. You need to make sure it's rolled up until there's a, I was like, oh my gosh. So, and then it was once, get everybody in the corner of your room away from, windows and doors. And now because of the pandemic, it was like, just stay in your seat and just be really quiet. So, as we get more information, we will definitely share that. And Annie's going to go over that during our back to school meeting with everyone and make sure that if there's any updates by that time, she will share that with everyone, okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so that's just a matter of me sharing that with you.
Can I put a copy in the file and just take the one page out that has student names? Or it doesn't need to be in there at all?
I was told in the SBDM training that they said that you should not put your, don't have to put your emergency management plan in the,
A binder.
because that's public record.
Okay.
Therefore, it has student names and it actually gives your plan. So what
Right.
into the wrong hands and someone gets our emergency plan, they're like, oh, well, all we have to do is say that there's an emergency, get everybody out on the football field, and then we could just,
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. That's what I was wondering too. All right.
yeah. So we're just going to leave it out. Now that we know, we'll do better. Okay. All right. Moving right along. We have the PD plan for this year. And so the PD plan that I shared with the staff at the end of the school year, I went and I found all of the things that were offered at the district level or for within our district that were related to our CSIP. So when I created this one, basically we identified 6 hours will be of PD on August the 9th, and that will be the first day back to teachers. And that will be a 6-hour PD, and we're doing a rotation model and covering differentiation strategies, EL strategies, enrichment strategy, culturally responsive teaching and learning, and implicit bias. And so it is tied to the CSIP. In order to meet the diverse needs of our students, we will gain a collective understanding and implementation of strategies to help all students achieve at high levels. And that is tied to goal 1 of our CSIP, which means increase the percentage of combined reading and math proficient and distinguished scores from 49.6% to 74.6% by 2026. And that is a goal that is given to us by the state. And that may change because, of course, we have not taken a standardized testing with student accountability since 1819. The test this year was just to see where kids were, and there was no student accountability. But we will get that data, I believe, in the fall, and that will help us engaging where we are going. The next is student preparation work. And this was pretty much left up to the departments to decide on a date and time for planned PD activities, and they can earn up to 12 hours of PD to work on PLCs and creating units and learning intentions and success criteria to lay the foundation for our partnership through the ESSER funds grant with Solution Tree that we would be doing the PLC work, and then we would have embedded PD throughout the school year in conjunction with our partnership with Solution Tree. And so,
Who is Solution Tree?
yes.
Who is Solution Tree, or what is Solution Tree?
Solution Tree is an educational company that work with schools and they provide professional learning like DeForest. Are you familiar with them? So it was a husband-wife group that came up with professional learning communities and 4 guiding questions when you are planning with a collegial group to make sure that students move forward.
Okay.
So, that came out of that. So that is the big umbrella Solution Tree. And then you have people like Mr. Muhammad, who's known for writing books about how to work on your culture, your building.
Okay, thank you.
I'll forward you some more information about that. Basically, John Hattie's work and talks about, highly effectiveness or the effectiveness size in impacting student learning. And it said that teacher efficacy, which is basically working together in professional learning communities and getting your instruction on how to reach the students to learn the standards. And it talks about like, you really want something that's like 0.4 or 0.6 and above. Well, teacher efficacy for is effective size of 1.57. And so basically that ties back to, okay, teachers working together collaboratively, looking at the standards, pulling out the learning intentions, success criteria, and activities on how to meet the needs of their kids. So we've been working on it. That's something we've been working on for the past 2 or 3 years. But I feel like we need to go deeper because we've just done surface level. We've looked at groups of kids, and I went to a PD and basically Solution Tree was saying you need to dig deeper, you need to drill down to individual kids. Now,
Okay.
why is Robin Kirby not performing well on this assessment?
Sure.
Getting to that. So
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know how to really say it as well as you all did. And funds, I was like, great, this is a great opportunity. We can now partner with Solution Tree, and they're going to actually partner with us. There is a proposal, and I was going to share that with you all, but I didn't want to get into it because it's just information for you all to have. I'm going to share that in an email, and it's several pages. So when you have a chance to read through it or just look at it, but they're going to partner, they're going to have a consultant partner with our school, come in and train the leadership, our instructional leadership team, and then come in and do like live coaching during our PLCs to help us and give us strategies to move forward. So
Good.
It'll be great work. Because I was on fire after listening to the presenter the end of May was when I went to that.
Mm-hmm.
The last thing was embedded in our faculty meetings throughout the school year. We would have about 6 hours, and we were going to do a book study with a repair kit for grading 15 fixes for broken grades. And that's the book that I was talking about last time we met, and I've made reference to it a lot. That was very eye-opening because even as a teacher, I found myself like, hey, I'm running low on pencils. If you bring in pencils, they'll give you extra credit. And it's like, well, okay, you're giving extra credit and you're creating a gap because someone will end up with like 110%, but do they really know the standards that you're teaching? And it was all because you wanted pencils and Kleenex. And I'm like, oh yeah, I did do that. So it's a really good book. I bought into it. And I think that once our staff gets a chance to read it and dig in it and just talk about it and discuss it, then they'll see the bigger picture that we're not going to grade people based on behavior, organization, or be punitive about it because they're not paying attention in class or they're not doing what I want them to do. I'm going to give them a low grade.
Sure.
Things like that. So that is our plan overall. Any questions about our plan? No? Okay, I will need someone to make a motion to approve this plan as written.
Is that just including the 24 hours that you?
Yes.
6 hours, 12, and then 6 more. Okay.
Yeah.
Motion to approve the P plan for Bryan
Thank
Station Middle
you.
School.
Thank you, Ms. Santiago. Can I have someone second that?
I second that.
Thank you, Mr. Beasley. Okay, all in favor, say aye. I think I'm doing
Aye.
too much with this.
Aye.
Okay, I just want to cover all bases. Okay, so it's unanimous. We approve the professional development plan. All right, thank you. All right, other business. Look, we made it. And it's only 6:06. Okay, so basically, I'm just going to go through this. I've sent this to, I believe, everyone by now. But the background checks for new parent members. And I just copied this from the email that I received from the district person over SBDM. So you have to have a background check on file. And if you follow 1 through 4, you can get that background check done that way. And there's a hyperlink in there if you want to schedule an appointment. At the beginning of each fiscal year, I have to share with you the Kentucky Open Records and Open Meeting Act and managing government records and the two Kentucky regs. And then finally, I guess I'm supposed to go over this. So basically, anytime we meet, it's all open records. I mean, like, and so we're supposed to keep any that is like any documents, agendas, and our minutes, our policy, all right, yeah, our policies and bylaws in a binder, and they are kept at school. And so basically that's what this document is saying. And then like anyone has the right to an open records request. And then it outlines how they go about to request those open records or meetings, and what guidelines we're supposed to follow as a council. That's in that document. And so they give those sample forms at the end of that as well. Okay. And then the proof of receipt is hyperlinked on there as well. And this is for each individual person on our council, that once you have received those items. Now, is there anyone who wants me to print off those documents, and I can have those in the front office for you to pick up when you sign the curriculum adoption? Does anyone want a hard copy of that? No? Okay. Well, if anybody thinks about it later and says, hey, I really would like a hard copy of it, I can make that available to you. But with this, if you don't mind, the proof of receipt, every person on the council will need to fill this out and send this to Kathleen Moore. And she will store that for this fiscal year from all of the council members. So you would put your name, your title. If you are a parent rep, you would put parent rep or teacher rep on that line. The name of the public agency is Bryan Station Middle School. The address is 1865 Wickland Drive. And our phone number, I don't know if you want to put your phone number, I guess it is your phone number. So you put your phone number, email address, and the signature. This will stay with our binder of all of our minutes and et cetera. Okay.
Actually, I take back. I'll have if you could put a print off with the other sheet that I'm supposed to sign.
Oh yeah.
That'd
sure.
be, that way I won't forget to.
Okay. I will make sure that all of this is printed out, and it will be with the other document when you come in to sign.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. One more thing I want to show you. So I've created this. We have a shared drive, and I've called it Site-Based Decision-Making Committee. And in this, I'm going to share it with everyone. And I think that it'll work because Ms. Moorman, you have a Gmail account. I'm going to have to talk to Kenya Williams because he has a Hotmail and it would not allow me to add him. So what I'm going to do is add everybody on the council to this shared drive, and everything that we do will be in there. Is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
So I thought it was kind of cool. So like, it'll have a folder for each. So July, everything July is all in this folder. Our school policies are here. Our school improvement plan is here. And our budget will be here because I believe it's in my office and I don't have access to it right now. But it'll be in that folder. So everything site-based decision-making will be in this shared drive. And I will definitely share that out with everyone, okay? All right. So any public comments? No one came.
I have a question, Ms.
Oh, yes.
Kirby. The agenda, where it says SR2 fund proposal, did we go through that? On the top where it says old business?
I skipped over that. I am so sorry.
No, I just
Okay.
thought I missed it. I'm like, okay.
I am so sorry. Okay, so remember last week or last month when we talked about the ESSER funds? So this is the actual plan that was completed and submitted. And it talks about each one of those components that I asked the committee, could we consider these things? And so basically looking at our school, because we were ATSI for our EL population back in 18-19 school year. And we still feel like we need to grow in the area of drilling down to individual students and what services we can provide for them. So we wanted to work on professional support with professional learning communities to improve continuous improvement model. That was the first one. And that is partnering with Solution Tree. And I spoke about,
Can you make it a little bit bigger, please?
you don't say how to do that. Oh, here we go.
Right there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, and so that is our initiative 1, and that would occur during year 1. And then initiative 2 is we have an inverted pyramid when it comes to RTI. And then when we go to our MTSS, okay, multi-tiered support system, and that is where we identify students that are struggling at the first level, tier 1 level. Like we feel like as a school, we have gotten to the point where we have the tier 1 level, the instruction that everyone gets.
Mm-hmm.
We're seeing a breakdown a little bit when we get to that tier 2, that extra layer of services that are provided in the classroom and the documentation of that. And then when we get to tier 3 level is, okay, what are we doing? Because we're noticing students are not performing at the tier 1 or the tier 2 level, and the documentation of that as we move to the tier 3, and maintaining documentation of that with the formative assessments along the way, or the progress monitoring along the way. So our plan is to, with that partnership within Solution Tree, they would also simultaneously working with us with our PLCs, they would also be working with RTI or the multi-tier support systems, and how we can ensure that we are utilizing strategies and documenting it along the way to make sure that we're getting the appropriate supports for students. And then the third initiative is that we have noticed that our test scores within our math department have been stagnant, or they're not growing at the rate that we need to get to our goal that is on our CSIP by 2026. So we have, in that same partnership with Solution Tree, they have a product called Math at Work. And so they would come in and work with our math department, completing trainings with our math department, and being there to support during those PLC times, as well as providing strategies and support on how to give the students that grade level instruction, but then providing supports along the way. So we're gonna partner with them, and this initiative is for both years. So we have the ESSER funds for 2 years. And then our next initiative is to establish a fair and equitable grading practice for all students. And that is where that book study with a repair kit for grading by Ken O'Connor, that's his name. And so working with that. And then we also would like to venture into doing a book study with Grading from the Inside Out by Tom Schimmer, and attend a live event with the author through Solution Tree to start our progress towards standards-based grading. And then the fifth initiative would be looking at our, where is it? Oh, this is the one where we would provide academic support before, after school, and Saturday school. So this portion of the funds, we want to pay stipends for teachers and provide supports for kids when they come to us before, after, or Saturday school. And then initiative 6, because remember, we have $530,000 to use. So we were looking at this and we were like, okay, why don't we look at our art department? And so band, orchestra, and chorus came to me and said, hey, we would like to utilize some funds to help support our fine arts. And so we included initiative 6 to address learning loss in those areas and to help build our fine arts department. So they have asked for some funds to do that in that role, like with equipment, like instruments or supplies for the instruments, and then also helping to create a culture in the school of fine arts, and that segue into the station arts at the high school. And then initiative 7, we talked about social emotional and continuing to support with our support team. That is our counseling department and mental health specialists. And so they asked for funds and being considered in this as well, to continue to have small groups and tools to help support those small groups and those tier 3 and tier 2 students that are having difficulties with social emotional needs. And initiative 8, we were talking about, not this year, because we felt like, okay, we're doing a whole lot with Solution Tree. Now next year, let's do something with Kagan, because we're finding that because our staff has changed over the past 5 years, going into 5 years that I've been there, everyone received Kagan training. So we're wanting to look into providing school-wide professional learning in Kagan, which is the student engagement component and the cooperative learning in the classroom. So that is the ESSER accountability plan, and it has been submitted and approved by our chief, and that is what we are working off of right now.
So it will be 530,000 per year, or for both years?
Total.
Oh, for 2 years?
Yes, it's 530,000. Yes. And whatever we don't spend, because I know you're probably thinking, well, all of that, no, it doesn't all add up to 530,000. And whatever we don't spend as a school, it goes back to the big pot of money at the district level. So we've already seen the district this year utilizing some of those funds, because they purchased Imagine Learning for the entire district. And the Summer Ignite, the funding for Summer Ignite has come from ESSER funds. Ms. Mormon's smiling.
Oh, my dogs. Did you hear that bark in the background?
Oh, no, I thought you were smiling because I said Imagine Learning.
Oh, no, I was smiling because my dogs are ready for their walk and they're barking.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Put you on mute.
Okay, well, we'll get you out of here soon, I promise.
I'm fine. It's fine.
So that's the ESSER fund proposal. Thank you, Ms. Santiago. I don't know what happened. Just glazed right over that.
No, is that we talk a lot in the grading policy. We were talking so much going through it.
Yeah.
For some reason we keep going.
All right, so we're at the time. It is 6:21. If all minds are clear, we would like to adjourn.
Real quick, Ms. Kirby.
Oh,
For the public agency, what did you say we need to put in that slot on this form that we have to fill out?
Oh, Bryan Station Middle
Bryan
School.
Station Middle School.
Okay, that's all I needed. I would
Okay.
like a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. Beasley. Okay,
I
thank
second that
you.
motion.
Okay, well, that concludes our meeting. Thank you, guys. I promise it's not going to be this long every time. I promise. It was just a lot. And I'm really proud that we made it through.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I will get all that stuff run off for you, Ms. Moorman, and it will be in the front office by tomorrow.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Everybody have a wonderful evening.
Bye.
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 Ms. Kirby, can you start recording? I just have to ask you a question real quick.
I'm trying to figure out how to stop sharing. Okay. Oh my gosh.
It's still recording though.
Okay. Oh, because I had minimized it because I was on YouTube and everything, and I'm trying to close out YouTube too. Okay. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.